When the boy Keone fell to the ground, the villagers gathered around him, murmuring about the prophecy. But before anyone could speak, he looked up at them, his eyes filled with a determination that belied his tender years. "I may be young," he began, his voice ringing with conviction, "but I feel the spirit of the star shining within me. It's telling me that I'm here to help this community, to bring back unity and prosperity." The villagers were taken aback by his words, but as days turned into weeks, they witnessed the truth of his words. Keone was not just a kid anymore. He organized the villagers into groups, each responsible for clearing and planting different sections of the land. He taught them new methods of farming, which increased the yield many-fold. He also encouraged the community to settle their disputes amicably. His influence was undeniable. Meanwhile, Mbatha simmered with resentment, watching from the sidelines as Keone won the hearts of the people. He felt threatened by the growing popularity of the boy, afraid that his power would wane. The chief's daughter, Niawira, couldn't understand her father's hatred for Keone. She had seen firsthand the good he was doing for their village. And she knew in her heart that what they needed was Keone's fresh perspective and energy, not Mbatha's jaded rule. One evening, while the village celebrated the first harvest of the season, Keone noticed Niawira approaching him under the cloak of darkness. She sat beside him and confessed that she was in love with another man, a young man from a neighboring village. This revelation surprised Keone. He had noticed Niawira's affection towards him, and he had reciprocated those feelings. But now he was shocked by her confession. "Keone," Niawira began, her voice barely a whisper, "I've been seeing someone else. I'm sorry." Keone felt a surge of emotions, hurt, betrayal, anger. But looking into Niawira's tearful eyes, he saw only sincerity. He took a deep breath and managed a weak smile. "It's all right, Niawira. I understand." Although his words betrayed his true feelings, Keone's demeanor changed. He distanced himself from her, focusing all his energy on his duties to the village. This change did not go unnoticed by Mbatha, who was keeping a close eye on Keone. He saw an opportunity to break the boy and seize the star for himself, so he went to Keone and offered him a deal. "I know you're hurting, Keone," the chief began, his voice dripping with false sympathy, "and I want to help. Marry my daughter and your pain will be eased. Plus, no one will question your claim to the Star of Destiny anymore." Keone recoiled at the offer. How dare the chief think he would betray Niawira for his own selfish reasons? The next day, Keone summoned the villagers once again. This time he told them about the chief's proposal, his voice echoing with disgust. "He thinks I'll marry his daughter out of pity, but I'd rather remain single than do that." The villagers gasped. They loved Keone and respected Niawira. To hear that they were fighting was distressing. Meanwhile, Mbatha was furious. He never expected Keone to reject his offer. He thought the lure of power and prestige would be too strong for the young boy to resist. But Keone's refusal only fueled his desire to possess the star. One night, Mbatha crept into Keone's hut. His plan was simple. He would take the star from the sleeping boy and hide it somewhere where no one could find it. As he reached for the star, it flared, emitting a blinding light. The room was filled with the sound of drums, and when Keone woke up, he found Mbatha lying unconscious on the floor. The villagers were summoned once again. They gathered around the chief, demanding an explanation for his actions. Keone, however, intervened. He stepped forward and addressed the crowd. "We have to come together," he implored, "not to punish, but to heal. My star is not mine alone. It's a symbol of our community's strength and unity, and we cannot allow it to be broken by hate." The villagers murmured in agreement. They realized that Mbatha's actions had been driven by fear and selfishness, but they also understood Keone's point. The star represented their collective hope, and they had to preserve it. Keone turned to Mbatha and extended a hand. "Help me, Father," he said, "to heal our village." Mbatha hesitated, but the weight of his actions finally dawned on him. He had jeopardized the very future of their community. He looked at the villagers, their faces etched with disappointment, and then back at Keone, whose gaze was filled with forgiveness. Slowly, he reached out and took Keone's hand. As the sun set, casting long shadows across the village, they all gathered together. They danced and sang, celebrating the unity that bound them. The scandal was over, and a new chapter was beginning. From that day on, Mbatha became Keone's advisor, guiding the village with wisdom and experience. Keone, in turn, led with compassion and fairness. Together, they ushered their community into an era of prosperity and peace. Years passed and Keone grew older. The villagers often marveled at how much their village had progressed. The fields were abundant, the houses sturdy, and the people happy. But they also remembered the lessons they had learned. They had seen the destructive nature of scandal and the healing power of unity. One evening, as the village sat around a bonfire, Keone cleared his throat and began to speak. "Tonight," he said, his voice raspy with age, "I want to tell you the story of our village, the story of our strength and unity." The villagers leaned in, eager to hear the tale of their beloved leader. And so Keone began. He spoke of the day the star fell, of the challenges they faced and the triumphs they achieved. He told them of the scandal that almost tore them apart and the forgiveness that brought them back together. As he spoke, the villagers were filled with a sense of pride. They had endured a lot, but they had emerged stronger. Their unity was their strength, and their story was one worth telling. Just then, a young boy approached Keone. He tugged at the elder's robe and whispered something in his ear. Keone smiled and nodded. "And that," he said, turning to the villagers, "is why we celebrate tonight. For the star's light continues to shine, not in me, but in all of you." The villagers cheered, their voices echoing into the night. In the end, the scandal became a distant memory, a mere footnote in the rich tapestry of their history. They continued to prosper, their unity serving as a beacon for other communities. And as the years rolled on, Keone's wisdom and leadership became a legend, a guiding light for generations to come.